Hi everyone, this is Melanie Smith. I'm here today with Butch Wise and Freddie Carmona. We're here to talk to you guys about a really exciting new sale platform that we're launching. Myself, Matt Whitman, Butch, and Ty have launched a sale platform called Fastrack. And so today what we're going to do is talk to Freddie, talk to Butch, just have some conversation here where everybody can kind of try and wrap their mind around what Fastrack is, why we created it, what voids we think it's going to fill within the racehorse industry, and just try to answer some of the common questions that we've gotten over the last couple of weeks. We've had an overwhelming response to this, a lot of great questions, a lot of people interested in selling, a lot of people interested in buying. So I'll start off with, kind of explaining a little bit what it is and then give it to you guys. Fastrack is going to be an online-only sale platform, and we created it to be a good addition to the live and traditional style of sales that we all know and love in the racehorse business. But I think we all know that there is a need for, let's say in the spring, to have some options to sell mares or embryos or whatever it may be. We're going to talk about lots of possibilities today and different ways that people can use this as both buyers and sellers. But Butch, I'll let you talk a little bit about, kind of when we sat down and talk about this, what you think it does for the business.
Well, I think it's about options more than anything. I really feel like it is, any investment is only an investment if it's liquid. And that's one of the problems that we have right now with the standard sales schedule that we're dealing with is liquidity, because there's a long time between sales. And so this takes a lot of that onus off of the owner and allows them to have some cash flow, have cash infusion oftentimes, and oftentimes, as we will discuss further later, but when the time is really right. So also it allows a whole new group of buyers access to genetics that they may have had otherwise. Yeah. So there's so many variables here that we're able to go forward with. I mean, just like you said with embryos, and give you a perfect example. I had a guy call me the other day thinking about consigning. He got 2 favorite cartels on one flush, and so now he's got to pay for another stud fee. And so he can sell one out of this mare that's made $500,000, and he can sell one, use it to pay for the stud fee, and some of the expenses on the other mare. So it's about liquidity, it's about timeliness, and it's about innovation.
And I think one thing you pointed out, and something I want Freddie to kind of give us his opinion on, is this is available. It's not available just in Texas. It's not just Oklahoma. It's the whole world can download this app on their iPhone, and they can get on a computer or their Android, whatever they do. However they want to get on there and look at it, they can. And it is very, very easy to follow along with this live auction and register and bid and participate. And it is designed in a way, which we will go into more detail on, that when you get on there and bid, you can bid very, very confidently. This is not in our sale. So we have a sale a lot of people know about, but some racehorse people may not be familiar with, called the Solo Select sale. And we've sold thousands and thousands of horses on there for the last 6 years very successfully. And our buyers have a lot of confidence in that platform. And we've learned a lot over the last 5 years and learned a lot of things that gave people that confidence and I get the comment a lot, I have more confidence buying on your sale than I do even going to a in-person sale sometimes, because of all the disclosures and all the different things that we do to try to make sure these horses are accurately represented. We're going to use a very similar program for the Fastrack deal. So Freddie, I want you to tell us a little bit, like, you deal a lot with buyers in Mexico and sellers in Mexico, and that's just one example of a group of people that are going to have access to horses that they may have not had access to before. What does that mean to those guys, and being able to see this caliber of horse that's available at their fingertips?
I believe they see opportunity. Yeah. Opportunity to be able to move their product quicker if they want to sell. We get a lot of calls that they're trying to find a grade 1 horse. We can now offer it in this platform. It's going to be because of your reputation. This is what I like about this sale. You're backing it up. Solo Select is backing it up. And Solo Select has done a very well job on branding themselves and building trust. And I think that's the big difference between what y'all are doing, and how the market in Mexico. I believe quarter horse racing, or the industry of quarter horses has never been closer than ever before with Mexico and the United States. There's a lot of the Hipódromo de las Américas. People want to have top pedigrees up there. People are investing more. I'm not sure if the economy is better or not, but there is a lot more money flowing into the quarter horse racing industry, and I believe you're going to really feel a gap that's needed there. And also the simple fact that you don't have to be present. Yeah. A lot of times people talked about agents. If you really think about it, every time you go to a sale, that person that's showing you the horse, he's the agent. Mm-hmm. He's the person that's really trying to sell you the horse and make sure you like it or whatever like that. So I believe the fact of it, y'all having I believe you're going to have we're
going to have an agent. So I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I'll explain this agent, kind of the program that we're going to follow here. And I think it ties into what you're saying. So we've thought for long and hard about, hey, we don't want all of these horses to come to Solo to do this, which is how our Solo Select sale works. Every single horse that goes in our sale, it doesn't matter if it's a recip or what it is, they have to come to this facility and we do all the work on them. And we said, A, we don't have enough room to do that. And B, we want to make sure that these agents that have great reputations, that have worked at this their whole life, we want them to have an opportunity to participate in this as well. And so, how can we do that? So what we put into place was a program where people can apply to be agents. It's going to be a very limited number of people, especially to start off with. We're going to keep a pretty tight circle so we can really keep control of everything and try to do a great job for our buyers. But these guys will have the horse physically in their possession, and they will be the ones that do the pictures, the videos, the radiographs, and the vet statements. They'll do front and back end pictures. They'll get heights on them, everything that we do in the Solo Select sale. The reason I think that's important is online sales, unfortunately, it would be easy to deceive somebody on it. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that that is a non-negotiable, something that cannot happen. These people know that when they're getting on here bidding, this is a current vet statement that has, we put if they have a spot in their eye, we put if they have a scratch on their back leg. I always say, if people just know about it, they're usually fine with it. They just want to know. They just don't want them to show up at their house with something they didn't know about. And so, we disclose everything on those vet statements, and we put a walking video up of those horses so that they can watch them track front, back, and both sides. We will do a palpation video of the mares, which that is something people really like whenever they're going to buy a mare that's open or whatever it may be. The vet goes and palpates them. We take a video of it. We put it on there. We have a form that they fill out that says she's open or she's in full. We try to make it as crystal clear as possible. Here's the mare. Have your vet look at all this. And the other thing we do that's different is the radiographs will be all online, and they're not locked up. You don't have to have a vet password to look at them. They're on a link. You click the link. You send the link to whoever you want to have look at them. If you think you know how to read radiographs, you can look at them yourself. That's not our business. We're going to have them on there, and then we want to make them very open and available for people to be able to look at and provide to their veterinarians to get a quick answer. Yes, they're good. Hey, they have this issue, and you just need to know that, when you're bidding on them. But we want people to be able to have all the info they need at their fingertips. And all of that info is going to be further controlled by having an agent that their reputation has to back that horse up, just like they do at the horse sale. And so how we want those people to feel very confident when they get on there and look.
So my question, and once again, we're here because I'm getting all these questions, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I don't have answers, and you're going to give me the answers.
Right.
If I want to sell a horse, what's the approach to that?
So if you want to sell one right now, if you go on our Fastrack website, there will be a page that has our current agents listed on there. If you know one of those agents, you get on there and you call those guys. You can also call Butch and Matt and say, hey, I've got this horse. What agents do you have around me, or where do you think I need to send it, or whatever it may be? And these guys, of course, most people know Matt and Butch. Mm-hmm. They can help them and guide them to the right place to send them. So somebody will get on there, find their agent, or talk to Matt and Butch to choose an agent. Then they will get online and submit their horse for the sale. So it's an online sale entry portal. It's very intuitive and very easy to use. You put your, all your payout info. If it's a embryo, you're going to, upload permits if you have them, things like that. It's, walks you through every step. And then you're going to pay $1,000 catalog fee. You're going to submit your horse. typically, so far, we've talked to everybody that's going to submit horses. So we've told them, you know, hey, this horse is going to work, or hey, this horse isn't going to work. We want to be specific about the horses we take here. Does every horse have to be a 6-digit horse? No, that's not the point of it. It's a quality control. We want something for every buyer in there, but we just want to make sure that we're knowing exactly what we're selling. So, you know, we're going to have all ranges and all different kinds of horses. But Matt and Butch will be the ones that say like, hey, this horse is a good fit for this first sale, or, you know, it's not for this sale. So that's where most people need to start. They'll submit their horse on there. They'll submit their catalog fee. We'll get those horses cataloged. And then on our website, if you can either go to bid.fastracksales.com, or there's a button on the homepage that says bid. You'll be able to go on there and start browsing already the horses that are already up. So there's probably 25 lots in there right now total. You can go in there and start looking at those. We'll have black types up on those. You know, every day we're going to be updating all of that and adding pictures and videos and all that. But the first sale will be December 14th. So we're about 5.5 weeks out from our very first sale.
How long is the sale?
The sale will be 1 day. So it's pretty quick.
24 hours?
Nope. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and it'll end at 5 o'clock that evening. Okay. So we try to make it, you know, pretty quick. I don't want people to have to sit around for a week to watch them. You know, if they make their decision Saturday morning, how they want to bid, get their x-rays sent off, whatever it may be, they can get on there. It rolls right through it. Each lot will be separated by a couple of minutes. So it's usually 3 to 5 minutes apart. It's not a race to the finish line. At the very end, if you bid within a minute, it will extend the time by 3 minutes. And so it makes it where people get on and you truly get the last bid. You know, people get their chance to bid. It's not just a race at the very end. Yep. So that's kind of how it'll work for a buyer and a seller. Just that's a very brief overview of it. But to answer your question, you know, their first stop should be, if they want to read about it, go to the website. If they want to talk to somebody, call Matt and Butch, or they can call you, and you're going to have a lot of info on it now too. And we can try and point everybody in the right direction of the agent that they need to get in touch with and get their horses to. You know, here at Solo, we typically get the horses 2 to 3 weeks before the sale. We don't need them unless we're fitting them. We're going to get them further out, of course. But if these horses look good and they're fat and fit and all that, then that's great. We'll get them in and get their pictures and videos and everything up. People can generally expect the sale is going to be pretty finalized by Tuesday or Wednesday before the sale. So the vet letters will be up. We want to do the vet letters as close to sale day as possible. So that way they're current. We don't want to do a vet letter today for a horse that's going to sell in 6 weeks. And those vet letters I try to tell people they're a little bit like an insurance exam, or like an exam if you were to go in and walk in the stall with that horse. What are the things you're gonna see? You're gonna see, are they straight-legged? Are they in their cribbing or weaving? Those are 2 things that we're gonna put on there. Do they have spots in their eyes? Do they have an overbite? You know, any scars that they may have? Have they had any surgeries that we need to disclose? Things like
Detailed.
that. Yes. And so it is not, always tell people, it's not no different than a regular horse sale. It never is going to replace a full pre-purchase exam, and that's not what it's meant to do. But it is meant to give you confidence to know, hey, I've looked at the radiographs, I've looked at the vet statement, I've seen the pictures and videos, and I know exactly what I'm buying here. The next part of that leads into, somebody wants to get a pre-purchase exam. No problem. You just call the agent that's representing the horse, tell them what vet you want to send out there, get it set up with the vet, and that is part of what the agent will do. Is anytime somebody wants a pre-purchase, they'll be the ones to help accommodate that. So that's no problem either, and people are more than welcome to go that route if they want to.
As Mel said, we went through quite a bit of discussion about this, and the point is, to be very candid, I don't want anybody to be upset if you're turned down as an agent, but we're going to use professional agents, people that have been doing it for a long time, because the buyers have confidence. They've dealt with these people for many, many years. They understand the way they sell horses, and they know that they can trust what they tell them. So, you know, we're not going to have casual agents. You know, we're going to have professional agents, because we want them dealing with those people that they've been dealing with for a long time.
I've asked different people about what they think of Fastrack. You know, just like, hey, have you heard about this website that's coming up, or this page, the new way of selling? And a lot of people in our industry, he goes, Freddie, would you go buy a horse without looking at him? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing they tell me. And you probably know these people, but anyways. and I was like, I said, I don't know. It all depends who am I buying it from.
Yep.
I said, let's think about this. So we got friends, the Alvarez brothers. They deal with Brazil, right, Argentina, stuff like that. I said, they're buying from over there and they're trusting these guys. Same thing here. I mean, Solo Selects have, and I use Solo Select to reference back to Fastrack, have built a great reputation, and everybody talks about how good that is. So that builds a lot of trust behind y'all. And that's what I'm believing myself. Freddie Carmona believes in Solo Select, and I really think that you don't do nothing to fail.
Yeah. Well, we've thought long and hard about this, and that is, you know, if all of us are going to put our names on it, we can't guarantee perfection.
No, of course not.
You know, we can't guarantee that you're never going to buy a horse that may have an issue that nobody knew about. But if we know about it, it's going to be on there. And that is the standard we're going to hold our consigners to and our agents to. So it's no different. You know, the agent has to do their job, but they have to trust that their consigner is also giving them all the cards.
Right,
and so, you know, if a consigner doesn't do that, they won't be consigning here for long. I can assure you of that. 2020, when the solo sale started, before that we were doing Facebook auctions. People were like, I would never buy a horse without seeing it. Do you know how many, Butch, this isn't directed at you, how many 70-year-old cowboys were like, I never would buy a horse I didn't see in person? And do you know how many of those guys have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on our platform since then? Some of them millions of dollars on that platform.
But I believe that's also your hard work and your team and what you have built on it, how much you believe on your product, which is
for sure
this establishment.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we want to establish here.
The reality is that in most cases, I'm going to say, they're depending on someone else's opinion
100%
to look at the horse. Whether it's a trainer, whether it's a bloodstock agent, they're actually putting all these things together. So the reality is, yeah, you may go around with that person and look at that horse, but you know, we anticipate that there's going to be a lot of those people that will go to those agents' farms and look at that horse. So if it's a Blaine Wood or if it's a Mike Joyner, you know, or
we talked about that this morning too.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to spend 60, 80, 100, you're going to be able to, you can afford to go look at them if you wanted to.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? But the option and the benefit that I see that a bunch of these new people, and we're all going there, we have our phones and we're somewhere and we're looking at it. And we're already looking at the sale there, you know, we already know what's coming up. So you can be anywhere. You don't have to wait for that date to go look at that horse. You can see it there, you know?
Yeah. And we'll, you know, as horses come in, we're going to be really reactive on getting them on the platform. So that should give people plenty of time to say, hey, this horse is in there and we're going to see it. And when they put them in our sale, we're putting them in there to sell. We're not putting them in to advertise them, to sell them outside of the sale. They're going in there to go in that horse sale. So that is another thing that I want people to know that are both consigners and buyers is when you see a horse in there, we are taking them on the expectation that they're going through that sale ring that day, not to sell and have a bunch of outs. And so that's one thing. If you make the effort to come up here and look at a horse, it's going to sell that day.
Exactly.
You know, and so there should be plenty of time for people to make it around and start, you know, getting to see those horses wherever they want to see them at.
So whenever after you're on the sale and then you do your last bid and you win the bid and you own that horse, what's next? Okay,
that's a great question. So we will follow a lot of the same procedures that we do in Solo Select for that. And I'm going to use reference to that a little bit in this conversation. So when the sale ends, our office will reach out to these people generally via text message, maybe WhatsApp. You know, if it's somebody that's out of the country, it may be WhatsApp, but we will reach out to those people, make contact with them, send them a text, and give them a brief overview of, hey, here's what's going to happen next. First thing is you're going to get a sale agreement that you're going to sign via DocuSign. This is just an agreement saying, hey, this is the horse that I bought. You know, it's kind of like a receipt for them in addition to their invoice. And it will also have a place for them to put their AQHA numbers on there. So we will do just like a traditional sale company. We'll do all the AQHA transfers for them and we'll get those sent in on the buyer's behalf. The next thing they're going to get is they're going to get an invoice in their inbox. There's going to be several ways they can pay that invoice. They can send a wire transfer. They can pay with a credit card. They can pay with ACH, or whenever they come, they can give us a check or overnight a check that day, or they can pay with cash when they come. Now, the thing that we haven't quite figured out is, okay, you bought a horse, Freddie, let's say, and we have an agent that's in Louisiana, and you're close to him, and you say, hey, I want to come grab my horse tonight. Likely we'll make it where you can give that agent that check, and that agent can get that check here to us. So there's a few little things that'll be, a little different with having agents that are geographically spread out, but we want to make it really easy for our buyers. If they're right there and ready to go get their horse, great. We'll work with them and try to make that work.
Is there going to be like a agent plan, like this agent here, like you would have a salesperson that takes care of this region?
So we are, balancing three things when we talk
You
about
understand my
agents.
question, right?
Absolutely. We're balancing several things. One, geographically, we want to have a good, we want them to be spread out in the hot spots where there's a lot of horses, right? We don't want somebody that lives in California to have to ship their horse to Texas to sell them, because that defeats the purpose, right? The purpose is for these horses to not have to go to the sale that day. They can just go to an agent, be in their stall, sell close to home.
Or when they get repurchased, have to send them back.
Exactly. Yeah. And so
That's a big savings there too.
Big savings there. Yeah. If it's a PO, then, your horse is close. You didn't have to ship them all the way to Texas to come to the horse sale.
Exactly.
So, yes, geographically, we do plan to and are working with different agents, that will be announced that are all across the country. The next part of the agent process is, of course, just like Butch said, we want to work with agents that have a great reputation, have been doing this for a long time. So balancing that. So to answer your question, yes, we will. And those agents, will be announced on our Fastrack Facebook page, the website. We'll have information, contact info for all of those guys. And once again, they can always call Butch and Matt too and say, hey, I'm in California. Who's closest to me? And that's what these guys, they'll be happy to try to help them get. We want to make this as cost effective as possible for our sellers.
So I've been selling the sale to people that could sell horses that I think, like Marcelino Gonzalez. You know Marcelino. He's got some good horses, well bred, and they're done with the 3-year campaign, maybe.
Right.
Anyways, So, and he was like, how does it work? I don't understand it. After you tell them that it's an online sale and stuff like that, are people, and I've told you this, and I'll share this with all of you, we're like 5 generations behind out of the farm. Mm-hmm. Like I'm 2nd generation out of the farm. Could be what, 4th, 5th, I'm not sure, but you're out of the farm, meaning we come from a village in Mexico. Mm-hmm. We try to make a living here, and we work really hard to educate ourselves to try to understand this, but we're still lacking a lot of education on this stuff, and I really do think this, like Marcelino, it's a very successful guy in his business, but he's having a hard time understanding how to do this online stuff.
And so it's going to be a learning curve.
Okay.
It's the first thing I'm going to tell you. It's going to be a learning curve. I have successfully gotten my cow horse cutting world rope and the ropers, God love them, trained to online sales. So if I can get them trained, I can get this.
Yes,
I can
exactly.
get this group trained.
And I believe that. I really do believe that. That's why I'm here.
Yes, absolutely. And they need this.
We do.
This is going to be amazing for the industry. It's going to be amazing for those guys there. They're going to have access to sell and buy in ways that they never dreamed before. And so it's going to advance the industry. And just like you say, I think the horse industry is always 10 to 15 years behind society. Then the racehorse industry is about 30 years behind. Yes. And I tell Butch that a lot, and we argue about it.
Yes. We are. And we agree with you.
We argue about it.
I agree with you.
But the racehorse world has a lot of tradition in it.
Yes,
and there's a fine line in us balancing that tradition and making sure that we stay with the core values, but also pushing this industry to outside of their comfort zone a little bit where they can move forward, because they're holding themselves back right now. And so I think that a lot of people, if they'll go through the process and get on and sign up, and they can sign up and bid the first sale and just get a little feel for it, because it is going to be nerve-wracking for them, sale one. But I think, the confidence level built really fast with our solo sale, and I think it'll do the same here. I think people just have to experience it.
I think, Freddie, it's not confined to the Marcelinos of the world. There's a lot of guys.
No, there is.
That I have talked to. Like I had a gentleman call me from down at Marble Falls the other day, and he said, now, how's this going to work? Are they going to have them all in one spot and then have a sale? And I said, no. But that's his thinking. You can't have a sale unless you got them walking through a ring.
That's right.
But we're going to have a virtual ring that they're going to walk through, And so I don't think it's confined. There's a lot of people that, to get their arms around it, they've been going to a traditional physical horse sale all their lives. It's hard to conceive of something that's going to be different yet still works.
I really think you're going to make it knock it out of the park. And I've sold you on this because everyone that I told them, like, this is the way to go. I believe a lot in new blood, the future.
Yep.
You know, I would agree with you that we're 30 years behind in the race industry.
Yep.
And I'll give you an example. Something happened at Lone Star Park the other day that someone forgot to enter a horse to the dash for cash. Okay, you buy a yearling, you prep them, you break them, and then you want them to run for this money, and then they forget to enter your horse. That happens, okay? Mm-hmm. So this lady was upset. She's like, I'm gonna go find out what's going on. Why did it forget to enter my horse? You know the jockey agent, but I'm not gonna say his name. Anyways, and anyway, so she went and found out, and her first thing was like, I can't believe they're doing it like this. She was like, what? Why are the hands touching these papers?
For sure.
You understand? So yes, we are behind on it, and I think what you're doing is going to innovate. It's going to take people out of their comfort, and they're going to start seeing results. And I think it's a big plus. I really like this idea.
It is, and I think it will, push these people out of their comfort zone in a positive way. Because I said the same thing. I was trying to make sure I had my license for Texas or New Mexico or something the other day, and I'm sitting there with Matt, and I'm like, why are we doing this on a piece of paper? This makes no sense.
Yes.
Why can I not get online and see if my license is,
Yes.
This is crazy. But it's just the tradition and the way the racehorse industry has been. Now the thoroughbreds that world has taken off. They're way ahead. They're ahead of the quarter horse industry. So why can't, this industry needs to be right there with them.
I agree. I think, and what you're doing is taking out people to look a different direction. And once again, we're not taking nothing away from the traditional sales by any means. But in reality, also another thing is, let's say me, if I go to a traditional sales, I'm going to be embarrassed because I don't know anybody.
Mm-hmm. That's a very, very, very good point. And that is something that I think in our sale, I have seen a lot of. Those people can get on there. They can take their time. Exactly. They can look. They can ask their friend. They can ask their vet. They go to an in-person sale and they're like, I don't know how to look at the x-rays.
And it goes very fast.
It's very fast and it's very overwhelming. And here they can sit, they can think.
And then you have 10 guys looking at you, looking at a horse.
Yes.
A lot of people don't have our confidence or they don't have it in them.
They just don't know. I mean, back to your comment about the traditional sales. I think whenever Solo started our online sale, there was, people were scared, like they're scared of change, right? And like, oh no, is this going to affect, this sale or the futurity sale? No, it's been an amazing compliment to the traditional sales, and they both have their place, and they both have horses that work in one or the other, and buyers and sellers that work in one or the other, and they have complemented each other so well. So in this ecosystem, we can all coexist and all do a great job for our buyers and sellers still. I think we're just a good addition to that world. So, I think we were kind of the new kid on the block coming in with the Solo sale to the cow horse world, and I think it's been a very welcomed addition to that industry now. People were scared of it at first, and now they love it.
Something else that I want to add that I like about yourself is that you're also opening our market to a wider spectrum, like international, globally. You're talking about, I get Instagram messages from India. People do like quarter horses, and some of those guys can probably afford a quarter horse, So it is, you give it a window to a global thing. And once again, not everybody can afford or not everybody can come to a sale, and stuff like that. So I really like it. I really think it's the way to go.
Well, I think one of the things that you talked about there is the new person, somebody that doesn't know the rules, okay? But we do make it very hard for these people to learn the process. It's a good school, but the tuition's high, okay? So the repository's over here, the horse is over here,
how to read a black type.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I've got the pedigree here, the catalog's here, and then the health information is over here. Well, we provide all that in one spot. And so you can take your time and go through and if you have questions, then you can ask. But rather than have to go and chase it 3 or 4 different places, it's all right here. And so given the lead in going forward as to the amount of time it takes, you should be able to get every question you have answered and then bid with confidence because you've got everything. I didn't look at those x-rays. Well, now I know where I can look at them, or I can have my veterinarian look at them. You know, you can call them up and say, I want you to go to Fastrack, I want you to look at these x-rays and tell me if this horse is okay.
They can do it while, I mean, a lot of, my vet does it on the phone. Like, hey, pull up the cell real quick, look at the x-rays on 211. Yeah, they're this. Okay, great. Thank you, bye. You know, it's a 3-minute conversation. So, I mean, how great is that? Doesn't get any easier than that. I think people are going to learn to love that process. And the other thing I would say about new people coming into the business, like you said, it is a great school, but the tuition's high.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's can be a little scary to walk through the doors the first time. What I have found, and what I think a lot of our agents will find, is that they will have people that call them that are like, you know, and our agents, like I said, we've specifically chosen them because we feel like I want to feel confident when somebody brand new calls them that they're going to hold their hand through this process. When that new person calls and they ask the questions and that person says, hey, you know, this is a really nice colt. I want you to know he toes in a little bit on the front end. It's all on the x-rays, just so you know, if you come see him, it's just want to make sure that you know that. But man, he's, you know, he walks right, he does everything good, whatever it may be. And those people instantly establish trust with that agent. And what that turns into after that is them calling after they buy the horse, hey, what trainer should I send this to? Then they call that agent and, hey, I want to buy a mare. You know, where do I buy a mare? Oh, you have a mare. Oh, okay. You know who to get to do the breeding work? Okay. Then that agent, you know, also can be the person that holds that person's hand to get them into the industry in a way that they can have a lot of confidence. And so I can't tell you how many customers we have here that are new to the business that started in our online sale, including, you know, Curtin F is a perfect example here. And he's now bought into Third Edge. He's a dual bet, owns 10% of Dark Side. And he got into this world buying a horse off of our sale 3-4 years ago. And he's just enjoyed it and had great experiences. And so I think it's cool for this industry to know that people, and I've met him one time. He's come down here. And he's bought tons of horses, but
that's a perfect example.
He had the confidence to buy on our sale, build his program without ever having to step foot down here. We ship his horses home to Idaho all the time. He's built an incredible program and set of mares up there that fit his program to sell, you know, rope and ranch horses up there. And then he's bought into these studs and has some big time mares down here. And he didn't have anything to do with this world 3 years ago. So that's the kind of thing that I think for an industry we can bring to the table in this sale that gives people the confidence to come in and join us and have fun with it.
Also, you're putting race horses in the barrel audience too.
That's another thing, and I'm glad you said that.
That's a huge thing.
So I think right now the racehorse world is really missing out on, you know, this team roping is growing like wildfire. And I think Butch has gotten to see it firsthand here, you know, the caliber of rope horse mares that are getting bred to these racehorse studs. And that's a huge avenue for these racehorse stallions. And vice versa. There's a lot of people buying racehorse mares from us to breed to the cowbred stallions. And so I think as a whole, this industry, the way the sales are set up now, is missing the boat on reaching those people. So I have a lot of those people that buy those mares from us out of our sale, but they don't know how to go, or they don't understand the racehorse sale's good enough to show up and buy one there.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
But they'll get on this app. I promise you that will be a very good percentage of our buyers. And people think like, well, they only buy the rejects. No, they don't. No. They want the best ones too.
So I met a family that they're getting to the quarter horse game, and they're investing a significant amount of millions in the game, right? And they come from a barrel. Mm-hmm. The daughter loves barrel horses, mm-hmm. and they're getting into that, and they're trying to combine both together. So I think they're new to the game.
New to the game. That's the key. And so we have rope horse guys. Reggie Probst is a perfect example, but a very nice mare last year, very nice mare, and is breeding her both ways. So he's breeding her early in the year to racehorses and later in the year to rope horses.
And the basis for all of it's speed. So
absolutely. And so that's a perfect example of, you know, we're all here because we love the horse first, and we all enjoy the business second. We want to see this industry grow.
And we like to win.
Yes. So why not have this opportunity to bring people in that are new or unsure or whatever it may be, and let's hold their hand and get them to a spot where they're part of our industry.
I think that's the biggest thing, is holding their hand. We all need a little bit of support, you know, to understand. Like the time you're giving me right now to understand it better It's just, we all need that. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, my Spanish-speaking people, they can speak it, but a lot of times they don't understand how the game is played.
Absolutely.
You know, that's where there's been a conversation for a long time. We need a little bit more, and this allows the time. You know, it could be quick and it can be slower, because if you're going to have a sale in 45 days, and when would it close to look at all these stock that's going to go into the sale? How does that work?
So the horses you could start looking right now. And so we started picturing our sets of horses yesterday. We'll have pictures up on a lot of the ones that are solos the agent on, probably starting today and tomorrow. And so people can get on there and start browsing them now, and they can come look at them. You know, our phone number's on there. Give our office a call. We're wide open. Come and see them. And so people can start looking, getting comfortable with it right now, and they can go and register to bid. And so that's one thing we should talk about too, registering to bid. You know, we try not to make it where it's an act of Congress to get registered on this thing. Whenever you do so, you go in, you put your information in, you put a credit card in. This doesn't mean we're going to charge a credit card for the horse. This is so that we can verify that you're a real person. There's going to be some people, especially down in Mexico, that have trouble getting their credit card approved on there or whatever it may be. All they have to do is call our office, let us get some information from them. We'll get them signed up and ready to rock and roll. That's no problem. And so we're happy to do that and happy to help them. But then those guys are registered. Now, the other part of this is when they're registered to bid, they're agreeing to the terms and conditions that they're going to pay for this horse. So they need to know if they're getting on there, they're paying for him. And so we want them to know, bid with confidence, but know that you know, if you're the last bidder, you're the buyer, and we're expecting you to get your horse paid for in a timely manner. One thing we didn't talk about after the sale is transport.
Yes.
So I think that'll be questions quite a few people have. We typically in our sale, and what we'll do with this sale, is we will try to assist these people with finding a transporter. So we have a list of transporters that we use a lot in our sale. Of course, there's the typical guys that transport racehorses between tracks and all of that. That's usually a very minor detail that's easy to sort out. One part of the logistics that we will be responsible for, or I should say the agent will be responsible for, is making sure that the Coggins and health certificate's ready to go. So that will be at the seller's cost. The seller will pay the Coggins and the health cert. Right after the sale, we'll send the agent the list of where all these horses are going, so they have a destination for the health certificate. They'll get the vet to come out, get the health certificates knocked out the next day, and everybody will be ready to go. And that way, it's easy to ship them. They're ready for a shipper. They're ready to cross state lines, whatever they need to do. So that's something logistically that we will handle on our end and try to make it as easy as possible for these people to get horses home.
Once the horse is sold, the agent should coordinate all the transportation needs. Correct?
Yeah, so what I say is we're not going to plan your hauler, but we're going to let's just say Butch is a hauler. I'm going to hook Butch and this buyer up and say, hey, y'all talk, y'all figure out payment, y'all figure out whatever you want to do. If y'all agree on it, you just let me know. Hauler, you just let me know when you're picking that horse up. And our haulers that we use now are very trained. It does take a minute to get them trained, but they are very trained. And so we will get them trained for this too, to contact those agents and make a plan to where, you know, our agents start showing up at midnight to meet a hauler that's not there yet, and things like that. But those are the things that, as a sale company, we'll educate everybody on, and the best practices and the best way to make it as efficient as possible for the buyer and the agent. So that's how we'll handle it.
And once you buy that horse, you might tell them about the week's worth of board.
Yes, that's another good point. So the sellers will, the way we do it here and the way we're going to do it there is the sellers will pay for up to a week's worth of board. So that way there's not, this agent isn't having to stop board and bill the new buyer for a board, and the buyer's trying to pick up 3 days later and they owe a board bill, and it just becomes a logistical mess for everybody involved. So a seller just knows that whatever their agent's board rate is for up to 7 days, they will be paying that board. If the horse is there longer than 7 days, then the agent needs to get the billing information for the buyer. And typically that's no problem. You know, for if a buyer says, hey, I'd really like to wait till I come to this in 3 weeks, can he stay there? Usually that's fine. They'll get all the billing info and bill the buyer for it. It is just like a typical sale in that the liability for the horse is at the drop of the hammer goes to the buyer. So even if you haven't paid for that horse, it's your horse. So we encourage people to get them insured. That's a big deal. And that's one thing we really encourage with our buyers here. And we have great contacts. You know, a lot of these people already have their insurance agents. We have a guy that we use and we recommend a lot because he's ready to go. They can text them in, say, hey, I need to insure this horse for that much. It's done. Your horse is insured. There's jillions of agents that you can do that with. But we do encourage people, of course, to get their horses insured because at the drop of the hammer, that horse is yours. No different than a live horse sale.
I have a question. Fastrack, the name. Mm-hmm. Where did it come from?
Well, I think it
quick.
I think it kind of represents, you know, everything that we want in an online sale. You know, of course, we want the fastest horses, right? That's what we're all in. We're here because we like racehorses. And we think that this is specifically the fast track to getting your horse sold. It's the fast track to becoming a buyer. It's easy, it's fast, it's simple. And we think it's the fast track to the future. So I think that name really represents, you know, the push that we're going to have to get this industry elevated and really reach a wider audience and a larger group of people for our sellers and give our buyers more opportunity.
I think you are. I think you're definitely on the right track. I don't see. I tell everybody else, Solo Select is not set up to fail.
Yeah.
Everything you do, you knock it out of the park. No one disagrees. You know, they don't trust I haven't seen the horse kind of deal, but we're gonna get there.
They will get there.
You know, but once again, like Butch said, there's always someone there, or you get in someone's opinion. What do you think? You know, there's always someone there helping you out.
Yeah.
So I don't see.
Well, and regionally, you can send somebody to look at that horse. Let's just say you can't go, you know, and let's just say they talk to you and you say, hey, I'm going to be right up there by so-and-so's house in 2 weeks. I'll run by there and look at that horse, take a video of a walk and send it to you, where it's just a raw video. You can see what you want to see. And those people don't need to be afraid to call and ask the agents questions too.
Yeah,
It's what the agents are there for. They're there to answer their questions. You know, if something feels unclear to them, they're welcome to say, hey, you know, send me a few more pictures of this, or, you know, to a point, those agents that's what they're there to do.
But I really believe that people that know the agents and that know you have no issue with trust.
Yes.
You know, like I said, you work really hard. I remember, I believe, about 2 years ago when I came here the first time, you already had this in mind. Remember about the online deal?
Yes.
I remember that.
Yep.
It wasn't the conversation you wanted to go, but that's a different topic. But
Yeah.
you were already.
We've been thinking about this for a while, and we've talked about it a million different ways with Matt and Butch and Ty, you know, and we've been on complete opposite spectrums of the way it ended up right now, and it's just taken a lot of good conversation between us four and between leaders of this industry to come up with something that was beneficial for everybody involved and move the industry forward. And I feel like that's what we've come up with this.
On the looking part, I mean, I think, except for the brand new buyer, okay, those are the ones that we really our agents need to have, you know, them in their hand and
Correct.
take care of them. But everybody else, I'd say almost without fail, has a network of people that if that horse is coming out of Idaho, you know, there's somebody I know that I can call
Yes.
and say, who can I have go over there and look at that horse? There's always that somebody that we have developed that level of trust and confidence in, that, you know, he said, I can send so-and-so over there to look at him. And it works. We've all done it.
And then if someone asks me to go look at a horse, I'll with pleasure go look at a horse. You know, it's like,
You love looking at horses.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. It's like, so anyone that you ask, yes, I get that. It's going to be, I really think so. Like I said, it's awesome. My other question to you is, in Spanish, are you going to have a translator button in Spanish?
That's a good question. So most of these apps, and for sure on the website, on any browser you're on, and we may do a video on this to show these guys how to do it, they can swap it to Spanish.
Okay.
The other part of that I have considered, and we need to talk to you a little bit more about, is, you know, maybe we, you know, the Wednesday before, we go through and we duplicate all of the descriptions in Spanish.
Sure.
And that way it's easy for people to understand. They know what it is, you know, all of that. So we're going to try to accommodate our Spanish speaking buyers in the very best way that we can. We want to make this just as accessible and understandable for them, because the last thing we want is for them to not really understand the language, and then there's some gray area on what they're buying, and then immediately we're not fulfilling our whole goal, which is to establish this trust with those guys where we can have a global reach. So, you know, as this develops, I think, you know, sale one, we have some things in mind. I think just to be transparent, we'll get even better after sale one. We're going to see, like, get feedback from these guys. Hey, I wish it was this, or I wish that. And we listen to all that feedback. And then we're going to make those changes that we think are going to make it better for our buyers and sellers, and put those into place on sale too.
We're going to get better because our agents will get better.
Yep.
And one of the things that we didn't talk about, and Mel talked about it a little bit, but I think one of the real advantages to this platform is that you know, I can give you those videos of that horse winning that race, or I can give you a picture of if it's a broodmare, what her yearling looks like. You know, I can get all of the information that I cannot get in a traditional sale because there's no way to put it up there. We can put it up. But the agents are going to, oh, I wished I'd have put that on there. I wished I had that. You know, next time they'll get better. Everybody will get better as we go forward.
So
And-
like when you advertise a stallion, he beat this horse, he beat this other horse,
Yeah.
you know, all that things matter.
Yeah, and I think what the other thing is, and why I think a lot of people say on my sale, like, well, I just assume buy on your sale than go to an in-person sale sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. For instance, when we sell a stallion, we have a drive, and this would be like a breeding stallion that's been standing. We've got a semen evaluation. We've got a video of that semen so that you can see it. We've got all the records on the last 2 years of breeding. We've got a contract in there that very clearly, very, very clearly defines you're responsible for these rebreeds. These are the incentives the horse has been paid into. These are the incentives that still need to be paid for this year. This is what, and it is at a click of a button. So you know, when you're buying a stallion, you're buying a business, is what I always say, right?
Yes.
You know, we have a folder of all their assets, their logos. We have that, hey, you're going to get their website, you're going to get their socials, you're going to get whatever it may be. I feel like when these people get on there and they see how complete the profiles are on these horses, it's going to give them a whole new understanding of the confidence that they can have when they're buying. So I think that is, you know, something that they'll easily see when they get on there.
I'm going to say this though, Freddie. I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. When you said a lot of these the guys in Mexico or even here in the United States, Hispanic guys, are a little bit behind. I've found them to be way ahead a lot of times. I mean, these guys were doing videos on WhatsApp way before we even figured it out. You know, I mean.
Well,
and they do business across borders with their phone or their computer. So I mean, I think they're very, very, very.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I think they're very, very good at it. You know, now they're like a lot of guys. You know, they want to act like they don't understand it, but they do understand it very well. You know, and they're very good at it because they've been doing it for a long time. I mean, borders don't mean anything anymore.
I agree. You're right. They are good at selling horses because they move a lot of horses in Mexico. A lot. I just think that. I guess I'm talking about me. It's going to take time to understand what's going on. You know, it really is. I remember he's my All-American horse. You know, I remember when I went to the first sale, I didn't understand what black type was, and I wanted a racehorse. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get a lot of those, and I'm talking about those, my friends that want to invest in something. They're going to go do their own investigation. Nowadays, people ask ChatGPT or whoever they ask, they do their own investigation. Yep. And most of the time you talk to people, they're not as stupid as they used to be because of the tools we have.
Yes.
And I believe this is one of them tools.
Yeah. And we can
But I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, they're pretty smart and they move a lot of horses. And you know that. And you're probably right. I guess I'll take that back.
Yeah, I really have a lot of confidence in what they can get done. And we've already had a lot of Hispanic guys already sign up. They've already gone through the sign-up process.
Absolutely. With no questions.
Yeah, no
They
questions.
didn't call and ask me any questions. They just were like,
They're
bam, bam.
Very savvy.
Yes.
Very savvy, you know. Now, you know, you take an old guy like me, I might have to go get my grandson to do it.
Yes,
but
exactly.
They want to be on it.
Well, you know, that makes me proud. It really does because they're, like I'm telling you, they're moving fast. They want change.
Yes.
That's an answer.
Yeah.
That's a good response.
And the other thing I think is important to talk about on here is something that Matt and Butch and I have talked about a lot is selling frozen embryos. So first we're going to blow their mind with an online sale, and then we're going to go ahead and blow their mind with selling frozen embryos. So that is new to this world. It's been done very little, it seems like to me, in the racehorse world. We do it a lot in the cutting and cow horse world now. So we sold our first frozen embryos back in 2022, and I just said, hey, you know, I've got 3, I think it was some Nurse Connie embryos, mare that won about 180,000 in the cutting, and I said, hey, I'm just going to throw these 3 embryos on there. I don't really know what rules to put with them, but let's just see. What it did was it allowed people to play at the level to buy an embryo out of a mare that would be a 6-digit mare for significantly cheaper. So they could buy these frozen embryos, do a little gamble on them. They buy a set of them. And have the possibility of having 3 babies out of a mare that was probably worth 100 to 150,000, and those embryos probably cost 15,000 for those 3. So there's a lot of upside for those people. Now, that's not always what they bring, right? Sometimes they bring more, sometimes they bring less. But what we are going to do, and to kind of explain the process, is if we ICSI these mares, and there's some race mares that we are ICSIing right now to get some frozen embryos together to put in the sale. We're going to sell those embryos in sets of 3 generally. 3 is a good number. That gives you a very high probability of getting at least 1 pregnancy.
Okay.
But a decent probability of getting 2 and a chance to get 3, right?
For one price.
For one price. You're going to get on here. They're going to see 3 frozen embryos, you know, let's leave out of X mare, for example. The way it will generally work, but there will be a disclosure statement that will explain it, is there's the buyer will pay the stallion fees on those according to the stallion's ICSI contract. So here at Solo, I can only speak for our contracts. Every contract will be different, but we'll explain it on there, on each horse. If they buy 3 frozen embryos by Let's Leave, they can implant those anytime, whenever they want. They can do it this year, next year, you know, within the realm of the 2-year rule on these studs that are 2015 or younger. And so they can put those embryos in. If they get a pregnancy at 55 days, they will pay their stud fee. And it still gives them a live full guarantee, but I think a lot of people get scared and they think like, oh, I'm going to buy these 3 embryos and I have to pay 3 stud fees today. No, you only pay them if they work. Only have to pay the stud fees if they work. So they put that embryo in, they get it to 55 days, they pay their stud fee here at Solo. That still gives them a live full guarantee, and they, you know, hopefully get a baby out of it. If they don't, they could either apply that stud fee to, you know, let's say the recip slipped at 100 days or something.
Yes,
they could apply that stud fee to one of those other 2 or put it on a different mare. You know, that's fine. But the whole goal of that is, that has been one of the best things for our newer people to the business, I think, that we've ever done, because they come in and they buy these sets of frozen embryos, and they buy something like that, a Let's Leave out of a mare that's won 300,000. You know, they spend 15, 20,000 on those 3 embryos. They have one that works. They take it to Redosa and it brings 75 to 100,000. Well, all of a sudden, like, they just had a whole lot of fun. They never paid any mare care. They didn't pay for any ICSI cycles that didn't work. They got their frozen embryos, they put them in, and they took their recip home, or they left it here to full out.
And they enjoy the whole process.
It's a fun process.
Yes.
And they didn't have to put a ton of money up to get to play at a really high level. I think that's really the key there, is you don't have to put hundreds of thousands of dollars up to get to play at a level with the guys that can spend that money on those mares. And then for somebody that owns one of those mares, it's a good opportunity for them, if they get extra embryos in an ICSI cycle, to be able to put those in somebody's hands that's going to raise them, and hopefully they're going to get put on the track, and, you know, all of that, and recoup some of their breeding expenses. You know, they may pay for that ICSI cycle and that stud fee with that. So it's a win-win for both parties.
And you can also sell them when they're yearlings or something like that.
Sell them in utero if you want. And they're going to get the frozen embryo permits, which means the person that buys the embryo is going to be the breeder on those embryos as well, which is kind of cool. You know, whenever we transfer those frozen embryo permits to them, that automatically makes them the breeder. So they get to, you know, have their name on the leaderboard one day when that horse is a winner as the breeder. So it just provides a cool experience for people.
And you get the breeder's awards too, right?
Yeah, because you're the breeder.
And, you know, let's say you get 2, and you can immediately put one back in a fast-track sale, pregnant resale.
Yes, exactly.
It's a really cool opportunity for people. And, you know, like I said, it's been very much a win-win for both our mare owners here at Solo. We use that as a tool for them whenever we are penciling out these mares. And hey, you know, this is just like Butch talked about. Liquidity is very important. And so we have these mare owners that they do go out and spend a lot of money on these mares, and they can come in and say, okay, well, I'm going to ICSI her to, you know, LBR hang 'em, then I'm going to sell 3 of those 4 embryos in the sale, and I'm going to gather up 20,000. I mean, that's a huge opportunity for somebody. So it's been really good on the cow horse side. I do think it'll take a minute for the racehorse people to
I don't know, because
it.
it's a good option. It's a great option.
Yeah.
It's a cheaper way to play.
It's a cheaper way to get in
And then you can
and play.
also sell them as a short yearling, and you know, you can also do
Sell
something.
them as babies. You can
Yes.
trade on them. I mean, there's so many options of things you can do with them. And like I said, I think it's it's offered our customers an opportunity to play at a very high level on a budget that everybody can afford, you know, and that has been win-win for everybody. So we'll be doing a lot of frozen embryos. We're going to do quite a few full in uteros, which I think a lot of people are getting more comfortable with that. Those are insurable at 55 days. We'll have all the information on there where people will, this is something else I think is important. When they're buying those full in uteros, we'll have the information on the recips on there, their age, and everything that they need to get an insurance quote on them. That's something that can be a little tougher to get at an in-person horse sale sometimes. So we'll have all of that stuff in there where they'll be able to get their insurance quotes to kind of budget what they want to spend on those full in uteros. But that's been very popular in the solo sale too, and I think it'll do the same here.
What kind of support do you give after the sale is done? Meaning, where should a horse go run? I mean, because I know you know barrels, I know you know roping, I know you know cow. What about, do y'all have a support for the racing world?
That's where this guy right here comes in. And I think anybody can tell you that he will be a great advisor to these people that are coming in that may not know one human being in this racehorse business. And they say, hey, you know, me and my family want to be able to show up to the races in, you know, Dallas or wherever they live, and we want to go watch our horse run. Who can I put it with that's going to do a good job? And Butch can say, well, you know, here's 3 people. You can call one of these 3 and see who you get along the best with. And I'll be happy to help you, you know, along the way when it comes time to sell them, when it comes time, you know, to sell them again, when it comes time to breed them, you know, and that is what Butch is here for. And that is also what their agents are there for. And so whoever they decide to talk to, it's an opportunity for those people to feel a lot of comfort when they're done buying, that there is somebody that they can give a call to that can help guide them. We do a lot of that in the solo sale. I mean, I talk to people Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after the sale a lot. Like, hey, I need a 2-year-old trainer. Okay, here's 3 phone numbers. I'm not getting in the middle of it, but you call them and you decide who you want to send them to, you know, and I will help you when it comes time to sell them or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I always think that's a great approach, because I do the same thing, you know, because I tell people, you talk to all 3 of these people, all right, and you're going to know the one when you talk to them. I mean, there's going to be something that clicks for you, and you're going to know, you know, and you know what? After a year, you're going to know whether you made the right decision or not, you know, because sometimes there's something that just doesn't work as well for you, or you become familiar. But the fact is that you're meeting people and getting more educated in the business the whole time, and the more people you meet, the more resources you have, the more assets you have to make better decisions.
So one other cool option that we're going to have for Fast Track is our flash sale. And so flash sales are something we've started on our solo sale in the last year that have been very effective. And there's lots of ways you can look at it. We've done some, you know, dispersals as flash sales. Somebody calls and says, hey, you know, for whatever reason, I've got these 12 horses and I need to disperse. 5 horses, 12 horses, 30 horses, whatever it is. Well, as we know, with the traditional sale format, that's not something that happens like that. It's a very long process. With this, it can happen as fast as you want it to happen. As soon as we can have pictures, videos, vet statements, and all those things, we can launch a sale. And we have seen a lot of success, you know, with sales that we announced 72 hours before they happened. Because people see it, they get excited about it, there's a lot of momentum early on, and so it seems a little backwards because you're like, man, there's just not enough time to advertise it, but that's not been our experience. It's actually been quite the opposite whenever we've had the flash sales that pop up like that. So I want people to know that that's going to be available to these sellers. They can do it through their agents just like we would. You know, you can grab your 12 horses, take them to Rogers, and go to Rogers, take them. We'll get with Roger, get the pictures, videos, everything's, you know, ready to go. And you can have a horse sale that weekend. And so when you talk about liquidity, I don't know how else you can get more liquid than that right there.
We talked about qualifying a horse to a futurity and then selling them before the final.
Or a piece of him.
That's another question that I have is, what about partnerships? If we have 2 buyers for the same horse, 3 buyers for the same horse, that exists in our game.
Yep.
How is that going to be handled at the purchase?
Very easily. We're going to sell pieces of those. So, you know, if you want to sell 25% interest in your horse, we're going to do it, you know, just like they did the other night at Keeneland. They sold those, you know, the shares in those horses. And we can sell syndicate shares. And I think that the syndicate shares are going to do really well. And I think where people are going to see that those syndicate shares are going to sell is to a lot of people that we've talked about in this, the new people, or the people that are outside of the business that want to get in and maybe be a little hands off, but just get their feet wet. They can buy that syndicate share, sell their breedings every year, or buy a piece of a horse like this. That's something that new people to the business really like.
Melanie, are we trying to attract, of course, buyers and sellers both, so they can always be, you're planning to have it how often?
So absolutely. You know,
how do we invite people to sell their product in your Fastrack?
So we are going to have an online sale. Our plan is about every 45 days. That gives people an opportunity to jump in and get in, you know, year round. We're going to have sales, and we'll have some special sales. You know, we will do a yearling sale or two in the fall. We may do an embryo sale in January. That's what we do on the solo sale. We may do something that nobody ever does in the racehorse deal, like a sale for 2-year-olds. We do that in the cutting horse deal, and it's wonderful, where you go in and those horses, you know, they're already on the track, they're already started, and you get a pretty good idea of what you've got. And we're going to sell 10 2-year-olds that are getting ready to enter their first race. I mean, that's a pretty cool way for somebody to get on and get to buy a horse that it's instant gratification. We didn't go buy a yearling and wait to get them started. We got to watch them, breeze them. And so, yes, for a buyer side, that's very cool. For a seller side, I think that they will learn to fall in love with the ease of the platform of selling and how flexible it can be with what their needs are. And so, you know, to do that, if they have an idea or they want to sell a share or they want to sell 25% of a horse, or just like what we talked about earlier, when there's a lot of momentum, like let's say we have one that does qualify for a futurity and you want to sell 25% of it, we will figure out a way to make that happen at the exact right time. So that's something that, you know, we can be very flexible with, and all they have to do is call Matt and Butch and tell them their idea. And I can promise we will do our best to figure out a way. We like to, I guess what I want to say with that is we like to think outside the box. Sure. So, you know, it's not normal for people to sell one right before the futurity. And just like we were talking about, maybe there's some ownership questions and, you know, who will own them on the track and things like that. That's things we're going to figure out. And Friday night before a horse race, we want to sell one that's going to run Saturday that has a chance to win $300,000.
So we get a lot of calls right after they do the works in Remington. That's when they start. Like I wanted to buy that 𝗁𝗪 whenever he ran. You know, so you get a lot of momentum going right there and then. Like, you see that one? Call them, see if they want to sell them.
Yes.
You know, those are the kind of things that I think is going to make it fun, because you're going to have the trust.
Absolutely.
And what a lot of people, guess what I get a call for? You got this trainer's number? You got this trainer's number? We get that call all the time. But they want to sell a horse. So a lot of times the trainers, they don't want to deal with these calls. Right. They're not salesperson.
Right. It is the same way in our world, in the cutting world. Horse trainers do not want to sell horses. They want to train horses and they want to win.
Yes.
That's what they're interested in doing. They are not interested.
Unless they're sorry trainers that want to sell everything because they, whatever, they got to make some kind of money, But most of the people, they want to know that. I believe if you have options and people understand, like the guy that wants to sell Jamie 𝗁𝗪, I told him about the sale. I said, you're trying to get X amount of money. Why don't you try it over here? See, it still has a 3-year career, and it can do well. It's you look at the purse money as a 3-year-old and what he can make and what he's made. Someone that was willing to invest, they're willing to invest something like that.
I think what people are going to see, and something that I envision that I think could be really cool, is, one of the biggest parts of the cutting horse world now is our 2-year-old futurity sale. And everybody in the racehorse world has probably seen the headlines of those horses that have brought, $1.5 million. Yes. And, the rope horse mare that we sold the other day that was a 3-year-old. So just these ones that are getting ready to go in and show or race that bring $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million, $1.7 million, $800,000. I mean, it is nothing for those 2-year-olds now to bring $750,000 to $1 million there at the 2-year-old sale at Western Bloodstock. Why don't we capitalize on that here in this business? And that's something that I foresee us doing down the road, where we find the perfect time where these buyers, they have a really good preview of what this horse is going to do, but there's still the excitement of the gamble, and those people can step in, buy that horse, and have a 2-year-old racing 2 weeks later that's starting their career.
Back to your question about how will they learn, I have every confidence that this business will learn very fast. And, there may be different times of the year to sell a particular horse or a particular type of horse, and they'll figure it out really quickly. I have every confidence in this industry because because it's about the money.
Yeah.
They will figure it out.
Yes.
You know, and so, yes, they're very smart. They understand it. They read the stats. They'll figure it out.
Hopefully from this, people have been able to kind of gather up the basis of Fast Track. We're going to do more of this, you know, to talk about all different things, some things that won't have to do with the sale, you know, just to try to provide some education for people that, you know, have been in the business or are new to the business. And so just to kind of close it out, I'd love people to know that, you know, they can go to fastracksales.com, and that's where they'll be able to find all the information they're looking for. All of our phone numbers are on there. Of course, they can reach out to you, Freddie, especially the Spanish-speaking people that are
Please do.
interested, and Freddie can definitely help kind of guide them on. Our first sale will be December 14th. We already have a really nice set of mares, a stud, some racehorses in there.
Weanlings.
Yep, an embryo. So there's some really cool stuff coming up in that sale. I'm really proud. Butch and Freddie, thank you guys for being here today. Thank you guys for the great discussion. We're really looking forward to having this first sale on December 14th. They'll be able to download our app to register right now, start viewing horses. You can get online and do it. Make sure that you do get registered. And this is to the buyers and the sellers. Get registered, put your email and phone number in there. That way you'll get the updates as we send them out of, hey, we're opening up entries to this sale, or here's some exciting consignments, or whatever it may be. We'll also be very active on socials. So we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook. We encourage everybody to get on there and watch it. We've got our YouTube channel that's going to have the walking videos of horses that people can go through and browse. So lots of opportunities to get involved and start learning about how this platform is going to work. And we're looking forward to having everybody on December 14th. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.